Hey y'all, welcome back. I thought I would do just like a quick video for you all to kind of check in with everything. The energies feel really, really intense right now, okay? And a lot of information keeps coming up around the nuclear codes. Now, Donald Trump sold the nuclear codes to Putin, okay? And the big thing, look at IC right behind him, General Milley. The big thing about it, Mattis might be involved as well, and Russia. They created their own little coalition as part of like their one world order. But I'm going to tell you that a lot of people in our country didn't have the correct information because of the attacks on the military. So you just have to look at how they set out to divide us, essentially, was through this Metaverse system, okay? And initially, a lot of the names I was getting that would be connected to this Metaverse were called Intel Wars. So if you think of the CIA, it's Central Intelligence. It is the communication hub, okay, for other intel. So if you are working around the clock on an animatrix system, which I believe is directly connected to Tectonics in DC, which is a geospatial firm. And they basically just seem like the firm that kind of hires out like whatever you need or want, very similar to CERN when I looked them up. Essentially, it's like they created this animatrix system in coordination with Mattel, okay? And this would be how they would operate, I guess, a military gaming system or portal to be able to carry out their one world order. And part of it, I have ICE coming up in connection to this. Part of it, I believe, was to get certain intel involved in these military portals through the Bill Gates, Jeffrey Epstein system that they met about, the firewall system that would go outside of the military portals. And then essentially, I think they would slowly infiltrate through whatever this Intel War system was to infiltrate each of, I guess, the communication portals, the military portals, in coordination with NASA. So NASA's the Lucy project is a big part of this. And there was also an issue, I have Vonky coming in around that. She worked directly in coordination with NASA on a project. She's definitely connected to this. And then that connects back to Jared Kushner, the Manhattan Project. And General Milley's directly connected to Jared Kushner, okay? I've gotten direct ties of General Milley in coordination with the Pentagon and Jared Kushner, okay? So they're all in on it. ICE was one of the first agencies to be infiltrated at the border with Sergei Lavrov, okay, with under tunnel cages to usher in their Nazi regime. That's trafficking, okay? That's human trafficking, border patrol. So that's how they got control over the trafficking operations. And I believe through the Metaverse and through their Intel War system, the goal was to have ownership over humanity through Neuralink. Okay, and that was connected to Starlink and all of the satellites that Elon Musk was putting into space. And most of those satellites or those operations were being launched out of Florida, Cape Canaveral. Okay, and there was also a coalition force between U.S. I'm hearing space Nazis. U.S. space teams and Russian teams. And that was ushering in... Listen, I've seen a lot of stuff, so I don't really want to go into, like, all the intel I have because it's just too much stuff to, like, really, like, get into a video without it being, like, overload. But they've been working on this for years, okay? And right now, it feels that we have the wrong communications going out. They have completely infiltrated command which was all by design. The goal was to turn everyone against each other, to create havoc, chaos. And they essentially started carrying out sex operations through these portals. They slowly were infiltrating people one after the other. They were using a form of monarch mind control. They started bringing in, different techie groups connected to Mark Zuckerberg, which was the incels, okay? And the incels were gamers, and they started to create their own Nazi regime through their gaming systems, okay, which were around sex, okay? A lot of it is around sex. Sex slaves, being subservient. This would be, I'm hearing a new brotherhood, a brohood. This also could connect possibly back to QAnon culture, cult culture, which is what Trump was really working on. And then there's also was training camps around this type of thing. Now, where the money comes in to really bring in foreign dignitaries and give them a stake in this one world order is through the trafficking operations and the kill operations. And then a lot of the kill operations then tie back into hedge fund operations, which link back to Wall Street, which is directly tied to Kelly Loeffler and her husband, okay, who is head of the New York Stock Exchange. I believe is still head of the New York Stock Exchange. And also connects back to Steven Mnuchin, who was head of the Treasury Department, who worked for Goldman Sachs, okay? He's Wall Street. As also part of this was going to be bringing in, obviously, cryptocurrency. And when crypto was first being developed, I was getting intel that it was being used as money dumps, okay? Huge money dumps that were coming in from Russian oligarchs to Donald Trump and his regime, okay? So this is when crypto was just taking off, okay? It's when the markets were very volatile, okay? It was like crypto was pretty much non-existent. Then all of a sudden it went AWOL, okay? It was like it jumped. It went insane. And then people were like, oh my God, did you see crypto? Blah, blah, blah. And I want to say it was like within a week it freaking crashed out. Those I was getting were controlled money dumps, okay, that were being brought in, huge amounts of money that were being controlled through a technology, okay, that they owned and controlled because they created crypto and to be able to move money fast, okay, because they needed to move money fast. And this was the money that was going to be coming in, I'm hearing, for the black budget, okay, to work on their black ops, which could be Project Bluebeam, which was connected to Pornhub, which connects back to the trafficking, okay, dark web. There's just so much messages that keep coming in around this. It's just too much stuff. It's just too much. But the trafficking then goes back to the Manhattan tunnels, which are directly connected to Donald Trump, directly connected to Bill Barr, directly connected to Manhattan cops, okay, crooked cops in Manhattan, elites, and the Russian oligarchs, okay? They're part of all of that. So the money dumps through crypto was a way for them to move money quickly because I don't know if you had seen, but they started to really track monies through bank accounts where they were saying that people were doing slow, I guess, trickles of money into bank accounts where they were dropping, let's just say they're dropping in $500 a day or whatever. And over time, over a month's time, it would equal X amount of money or whatever. And so they were able to move money through these very slow dollar amounts that would be untrackable. But I think people got wind of that. So crypto became the way to move money fast and lots of money for this dark agenda fast. Okay, so those were the initial dumps of crypto. I'm not saying that it didn't. I'm not saying that it didn't turn into something else, shortly after that, because I think that's where the DNA hacking came in with crypto, the crypto wallets, and turning humans into a form of harvesting energy, harvesting us, okay? And I think that's where the hedge fund version of us came in. So that came in along with the IRS infiltration and through the U.S. tax bonds. And then I was getting that directly tied back to Tiffany in Manhattan, okay? And that's why there was a fire at Tiffany's, okay? And that's where the lock and key is connected back to, because they're known for the lock and key. That's trafficking. And the Manhattan elites. So I know that's a lot of information, okay? And I almost died a lot of times to even get that information, okay? Because that's how I earned my military rank, was dying. And that is me winning a lot of battles that are unseen and unrecognized, okay? So this is where I reside. They are still hitting me with weapons. I have huge teams that are dissecting my DNA, that are DNA hacking me every day, that are assigned to me, that are part of their kill contracts that Donald Trump has sent out through Vladimir Putin, through all foreign enemies. And the contracts now come in through, quote unquote, their metaverse, okay? They're coming in through that technology. They're able to move contracts within minutes, okay? They can do contracts within 5 minutes. They can do a contract. They can do kill contracts in 5 minutes. They have the teams now. They have created the backing to carry out kill contracts. And the kill contracts are unseen and being done through Mark Zuckerberg's neuroweapons, okay? Through the mind reading technologies, through the DNA hacking. And that's connected to all of the DNA buyouts, obviously, okay? Really easy to get people's DNA. Now, my DNA was just stolen from me through nanotech, okay? Through a nanobot. And that's how they got my DNA. I didn't give my DNA to anybody. In fact, I specifically did not get blood work done because of my attack. And they still got my freaking DNA. Everything they have on me is stolen. Everything they have to hurt me is stolen. And that is the warfare that is infiltrating people. And it's being done through their portals, okay? Through their sex portals, which I've talked about, which is through an implant, through a sex implant, which they created, and a simulation system. It's an avatar system. And those are weapon systems to infiltrate us biologically, infiltrating our soul contracts, because those are opening up a portal, okay? Those are divine portals that they're opening up through the monarch mind control. And that's how they get into your biology. So the other thing that was going on, I guess, on U.S. soil is the nuclear codes, which Donald Trump gave them, okay, to Vladimir Putin. I know that he had the nuclear codes. And so when I'm telling you the intel is divided, there's intel that is in fear and thinks that this is exactly what happened. And then there's intel that actually know what's going on. But that intel is not in the decision rooms, okay? And it's by design, because the people at the highest rank working underneath Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are part of the one world order. So the people who have the intel on really what's going on, they're getting blocked, I think, from the chain of command. They're being blocked out through the intel portals, okay, through the metaverse, which have completely been hijacked, okay, by Donald Trump. I was also getting messages in regards to the underground cables that were severed, okay, and I had seen a completely new operation, a new communication operation that was working hand in hand with China through IBM, okay, and that's an Eric Prince job, okay, that was his job. He set that up. And I see it on the coast. I see it over in LA. I see it in California. I see that operation over there on the coast. And so the IBM, I just see a lot of computers and I see them as a communication portal. That communication portal is also meant to overthrow our own intel, to supersede our own intel, with China to have a back channel to China. And China is also part of the warfare. That's why General Milley never shot down the China balloon. Okay? Because China was in coordination with them as well. That is part of Trump Media and Technology Group. They're out of China. That's Truth Social is out of China. Okay? And when he kept talking about building this great big wall, he was talking about a coalition with China. When he was talking about the China virus, that was a coalition group. That was a coalition force with China. That was a bioweapon with China in coordination with the elites and Stanford and elite labs. Okay? So all of that is in coordination. So when we're seeing these tariffs, okay, and this freaking trade war that he's creating, it could be symbolic of other things going on within his trafficking rings, okay? When he's throwing out numbers, it could be that things are going for sale. It could mean other things. You have to be aware there's a back channel going on of intel, and it's not what the news is reporting. They'll even have like, oh, these fake, meetings and stuff with all of these different countries. I can tell you, like the world leaders that are initially part of Havana Syndrome, because that's what this is. It is Havana Syndrome. It's all connected to Havana Syndrome. And that is also part of the Pentagon's cover-up with General Milley and General Mattis and General McMaster, because they were all there during Havana Syndrome. So those are his generals, and then Dan Coates is part of that, and Rex Tillerson is part of that. And he was head of the CIA before Gina Haspel, and she's still operating. She's been operating against me all last summer. She was operating against me. I've seen all her teams. I've seen their CIA map. I've seen everybody they have contacts with. I know how their operations work. But I don't know where my intel is. My intel fell asleep. I don't know where my intel went. I don't have intel. I gave up on my own country. That happened a long time ago. So there is a complete lie going through intel about the nuclear codes and what they have access to. And so they don't even have the real story. So they're not honoring my rank. They're not honoring my commands because they think that I don't have information, but I actually have intel. I have the intel that they're hiding. So I pose a huge threat to them. So they have weapons on me around the clock. They're trying to kill me while I sleep right now. So I don't know. I don't know where my fate lies at this point in time. But I can tell you we could be gearing up for a war right now. There has been a war declared against Donald Trump in the intel portals. I just don't know where our intel is because of what they did to compromise it, because of the privatization of the military contracts, military contractors, okay? A lot of that has been coming up. The military contractors have been compromised. So every contract they have essentially carried out is null. So we would have to go back and understand that. In fact, the military contractor that Reality Winner was working for when she uncovered their plans of attack against our country, which she risked her life for and essentially paid for with a huge cover-up to get her imprisoned, and she almost died in prison. They switched hands into another military contractor. They were actually bought, okay, by another contractor. So that could be part of another cover-up. So that group that bought the contractor she was working for could potentially be a compromised contractor who is part of a bigger cover-up. I mean, that's just me spitballing at the moment. Like, I'm not saying that that's exactly right, but it is suspect, okay? So we have to look at every single one of our contracts and contractors. I was looking up a lot of our military contractors, and, they're all foreign contractors, which makes me feel like we're compromised. I feel like they should just be USA only contractors right now until we get our country back. We have to secure Homeland Security right now. I have been calling for troops to come back to back home, and they're deploying troops right now. They're setting troops out to deploy. I don't know who the generals are that are deploying them, and I don't know where they're getting their commands, because we need our military on U.S. soil right now. We're in a war. We are in a war against Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and they don't have that intel. Yeah, I have Russia coming through. Russia. They don't understand that Russia's in our military, commanding our military. I've seen children in our military on intel portals, carrying out orders and commands, blocking, chaining commands. They'll put children in place of military to F with everybody. You have no idea the chaos they have created on U.S. soil to confuse people. They have AIDS operations going on underground in the Pentagon with children from Ukraine connected to Bill Barr. I don't even want to say this video is for entertainment purposes only, because I believe this to be true, because I've been around them for years. Like, it's not just like a day. Like, I have been around these people, watching them for years now. Years. And I was collecting intel when I had my YouTube channel, and it was fully up and going before I was attacked. And that's 2017 into 2018 that I was starting to get intel on them. Which means our intel was compromised. If I was getting the intel at that state or at that stage, that means we were already to some degree compromised. So I don't know if there's any other messages. Contracts just keep coming up. I have been told I was just put into a Pennzoil contract, a kill contract through Pennzoil. That is the latest contract I'm a part of. I believe those are Eric Prince's contracts. I believe he does all the contracts. And then General Milley is part of those teams and operations. You have to understand the kill contracts bring in a lot of money. That's how they make their money, is off of killing me. I can't even tell you the numbers of what I went for within these portals. They were trafficking me in the billions. Okay? And people were buying me back. They were buying me out. And then they would infiltrate and set them up as traffickers when they were trying to get me out. Celebrities. They were getting infiltrated by them. This group is deadly and evil. They are sick. If you knew what they were doing, you would want them dead in minutes. Like, if you really knew the sickness of who they were. I can't even tell you the amount of money they made off of me. I can't even tell you. It's sickening. And that's why the numbers got so high, that they owed me so much freaking money. And it's all connected to North Korea as well. He's a main cat in the intel portals. And the Illuminati is also part of it. So, I would love to hear your feedback on this. I know a lot of you have asked, is the United States going to be okay? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know if the U.S. is going to be okay. I mean, I don't know that I have those guarantees right now. Like, to say that we're going to be okay, I think we're operating from a level of like a 4-year-old right now, honestly. Like, I'm really like shocked at the level of like coward that we have in our country. That the minute they believe they've been infiltrated or there's some kind of intel on them, they fucking fold in 2 seconds because they can't hack it. They can't handle it. They're threatened by this enemy when most of them are just victims of the enemy. And instead of like charging forward and being brave and courageous, they fold. And like, I've witnessed it like firsthand. I've watched so many people just like fold. And you're just like, really? Really? That's all it took? Like, it's kind of like, it's like really disheartening to realize, like, it's like all these people you've looked up to your whole life and then realizing they're just like, they have a spine of like nothing. Like, and you're just like, That's it. That's all. That was your freaking, that was your big try. That's how it's been for me. Like, I'm just like, I'm like grossed out. I'm grossed out by how many cowards there are in our country. And I almost feel like in some way that was almost intentional as well, was to put people that were weaker at the top so they could fully infiltrate us much easier. So this could have been carried out for decades to get the right people that would fold quickly. I have something with addicts coming in. I know a big part of their warfare is addictions, getting them addicted to cocaine through Elon's Neuralink. He can bump people in like 2 minutes through his Neuralink. And I know that cocaine is like a huge part of their operation, Donald Trump's operation in trapping people, in creating addicts and then holding them hostage as addicts. They have bumped me in this system like many times, and I reject it. I send it back. I don't allow it to go near me. I just send it back. But again, I don't know where people have weak boundaries, man. And I think that's what I'm learning is just like cops. There's a lot of cops with weak boundaries. There's a lot of feds with weak boundaries. I've seen a lot of feds end up sleeping with celebrities and getting infiltrated. I've seen CIA do that. I'm like, they just make me want to vomit. I'm like, you fell for that? Like, you're so gross. Like, you're so weak. Like, to watch feds do this is like vomiting. It's like, you're really this dumb. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just like, oh my God. It is gross in here. Epstein Island is connected to all of those operations as well. And organized gang stalking, which comes in at a military level. Could be retired military, active duty, it doesn't matter. It's still organized gang stalking. It is coming in at a military grade operation, all chargeable, all war crimes against the United States of America. They have torture programs, all war crimes. So on that note, I would love to hear your feedback. Thanks for subscribing, liking, sharing, your donations. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.